What's up, everybody? We're out here in the Land Cruiser. This is a 1991 VX, and we're going to be going over how to replace just the window motor, not the regulator. So here's the new motor. So we're just going to be taking the old one out, putting this one in. And so if you're looking for the regulator, this is not the place. Just the window motor on this one. All right, so we're going to just work from the top down here, removing the door panel. So we're going to start off removing this screw right here, just Phillips. All right, so after that screw is out, you can go ahead and actually remove this plastic piece right here. So just take a flathead, slide up under there, pull the door handle, and it'll slide right off. All right, now that that's off, we're gonna go ahead and look under the door handle right here and remove this screw as well. Not sure if you can see it there. There it is. I've already taken it out, so just remove that, another Phillips. So if after you remove that screw, you're gonna go over here to the armrest and just take a flathead up under it and pop it off. So it's just got a couple clips up under there. Super easy. So we remove that, and then it's gonna expose these two screws right here. So you're gonna go ahead and wanna remove those two more Phillips screws. All right, so those two screws are out. So next we're gonna actually remove the buttons right here. So you're just gonna wanna pry up under it there and it'll pop off. So after you remove that, we're gonna be good to remove the door panel now. So all it has is just little snap-on like rivets around here. So you're just gonna want to pull as close up to them as you can. So just feel around, feel where it's actually stuck at, and then just give it a nice pull, and you'll hear them pop. So now once you have all those off, it'll just swing here, and then we need to remove this plastic piece so we can go ahead and slide the panel up. That's taken care of. So now all you're gonna want to do is lift up on the door panel to remove the sill right here. It's gonna actually be seated down inside the window just a little bit. So you're gonna wanna just lift up and then pull it off. So the door panel is off, exposing everything here. And the motor that we're actually gonna be replacing is sitting, you can kind of see it through here. There it is. And here's the connector for that. So we're gonna go ahead and wanna undo this. So to actually remove the motor, it's probably gonna be pretty hard to see here. Right here is one of the screws. So there's gonna be three, if I can get it to focus. There's going to be three of those gold screws there just mounting the motor back onto the regulator, and they are a T25 Torx bit. So you're just going to want to reach in there. You can see one right here, the other one right there, and then I think the third one should be up on the top somewhere. Yep, there it is. So you're just going to want to remove all three of those. But before you do that, you're going to want to obviously secure the window here. So I'm going to run some tape just over the top of it. You can have somebody hold it or however you like to do it. I'm just going to run some tape over top. I got the window taped up and secured. I'm gonna go ahead and reach back behind here and remove those three Torx bits. After removing the three Torx bits, the motor will just kind of wiggle out. If you're having any trouble getting it out for any reason, you could loosen up one of these four bolts right here. I'd probably say the closest one to it, and then try to remove it like that. But you shouldn't have any problems with it. It should just slide straight out. All right, so we're back, and all I ended up doing was taking the two old connectors here off of the motor that was originally in there. And the reason why is I didn't have any of these laying around, and they didn't have any corrosion or anything, and then I wouldn't have to end up switching out this right here. So all I did was just cut these off of the old one and then crimp them onto the new motor right here. And before you go ahead and put it in, just plug it up and make sure that it works. That's what I'm going to do real quick. So I'm just going to plug them in here. The connector's probably going to vary because I think this one is not the original. But all I'm going to do is just match the red up here with you know, the red. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. So just slide them in here, and then we're going to see if it works. All right, so we got the switch plugged in, motor connected now. So we're going to go ahead and just put it into accessories. And then we're going to give it a try here. So, and you can see motor's turning both ways, so everything here is good. So I'm just gonna throw a little bit of electrical tape around this just to, you know, make sure the crimp holds and prevent any water or anything from getting in there, just in case. And then we're gonna go ahead and start reinstalling it. And one thing also, whenever I'm putting the motor back in, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave these unplugged from there, so it'll be a little more free. Don't have to worry about yanking on anything while we're putting the motor back in. So to put the motor back in, it's just reverse. So you're gonna wanna just flip it around this way and then slide it up in there. And the gears will just align themselves really. But one thing you wanna do before is you wanna put a little bit of grease on this gear right here before you put it in. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm putting a little bit of grease on there. Now we're just gonna take these 3 Torx bit screws and then line it up and put them in. All right, so I was having a little bit of trouble getting the motor back up in there. I think it was just the way the gears happen to end up being turned. But all I'm gonna do is just loosen up probably this one right here, and this one, just some 10 mil little bolts there. And that's gonna just loosen up this whole frame that it's gonna be mounting onto. So I'm just gonna loosen those up, push it back a little bit, and then slide it in, and then put these down. All right, so loosening up these 2 right here worked perfectly. I got the motor slid up in there into place, and then I got this first Torx bit part of the way in somewhere. There it is. And whenever you're putting these back in, just make sure don't tighten them all the way down. After you get the first one in, don't tighten it all the way down, because you're gonna probably need to readjust it. So I got that one in, so just 2 more to go now. We got the motor mounted back up in there, plugged everything back up. I'm gonna remove this tape and just make sure it works one more time before we put the door panel back on. I'll plug back up our controller here and make sure everything is good, and then we're gonna give her a test. You heard that loud pop there? That's just the gears getting back into position. So you wanna go ahead and bring the window down here, and we're gonna be looking at this right here. So these little rails for the regulator, if they're not real greased up, go ahead and put a little bit of grease there, but these look pretty decent. And then just kind of inspect everything, make sure everything looks good here. And you can also grease up this point right here. But those look pretty good. I'll probably throw a little extra on there just to be on the safe side. But yeah, everything's good. And if you do grease everything back up, just roll it up and down a couple times so those wheels can spread it around. And it should get a little easier and easier each time you do it. This one's pretty slow still. I mean, that's just the worn out parts in the regulator, but nothing too bad. It's getting a little better as that grease works its way in there. One more spot that I forgot to mention that you can grease up is going to be right inside here. You can see the gears. So you can just put a little bit there on that wheel, and it'll spread it all around. All right, so now that everything's working, you got it all greased up, we're going to go ahead and just start reinstalling the door panel. So one thing I forgot to mention earlier, whenever you're taking the door panel apart and also putting it back together, so you'll probably be seeing a plastic layer right here whenever you take off the door panel, and you can kind of see what remains of it there. It looks like somebody either broke it or just to the point of not even putting it back on is what it looks like, because you can see it there on the outside. But that's just going to be an extra layer of protection from any moisture or anything getting inside your door panel. So if you have that, all you're going to want to do is just remove it, and it's just this sticky stuff here on the edges. So you're just going to peel it off, set it aside. I would recommend just peeling the bottom off and then just folding it up and putting it up on top of your window or something like that. And then same thing whenever you're reapplying, you're just going to fold it back down, put it over. Make sure you route this cable out from under it. So you're going to want to make sure this is not tucked up in there with the plastic on top of it, because it's going to be needed to be routed up into the handle. But yeah, most vehicles should have it. So I just wanted to explain that. That said, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall the panel here. So first thing you want to do is you're going to take this cable right here, and you're going to be wanting it to route it through this hole in the door panel. And then whenever you get that through there, you're going to just lift up the door panel and set it onto this lip on the window right here. I can't really do it because I'm going to need 2 hands, but you're pretty much just going to put this little lip right here of the door panel up onto that, and make sure you route that cable through there. Yeah, so this is what it should look like. Just rest that down in there and the door will stay. And then just make sure you got your cable routed through here. Make sure you got enough slack to plug it in and everything as well. Next, we're just going to be pushing those little pop rivets or whatever back into place that we took off earlier. So all you're going to do is just fill around and then just start pressing them in. And you should hear a little snap. And just do that all the way around the door. All right, and then you can go ahead and place this plastic little trim piece right up on here. And all that does is just snap into place as well. After that's on, we're going to go ahead and be plugging this in to the controller here and then placing it back. Alright, so now that we got the switch back on there, we're going to go ahead and put these 2 screws in. Now you can go ahead and take the armrest and pop it right back on. Just let me grab that. And then same as pretty much every one of the trim pieces. It just pops right on there. So there we go. And then we need to put this screw up under here back in. And the last step is to just put this little handle trim piece back on, and then that one screw through, and that'll be it. And whenever you're tightening this screw down here, make sure you don't over tighten it. It's not actually holding the handle or anything. It's just holding this little plastic trim piece on. So you don't have to over tighten it. It looks like that's what somebody did here to begin with. Just tighten it down a little too much and it cracked, and that's also how the passenger side was. So I'd say these pieces are pretty easy to break. So yeah, I just wouldn't tighten it too much. And that's the finished product. So we got the door back together and a working window now. Like I said, that's just the motor. I knew that's what was wrong on mine. So I just ordered 2 motors, one for this side and then also one for the passenger side. And it's the same thing. The only thing to keep in mind is that the motors are actually different because of the orientation. So you're gonna have to get 2 separate ones for driver's side and the passenger side. They're just flipped backwards. So keep that in mind if you want to do both. But yeah, that's it. So that's how you switch out the window motor on an 80 series Land Cruiser.